Welcome back to the channel. I am Renee Sorbonne, skin expert, and last week we established that rosacea is a condition of barrier failure. But if a compromised barrier is the why, then what is the what? And what are the specific things that are pushing that already weakened barrier system over the edge and causing a flare-up? Your client might walk in and say, "My skin is so unpredictable," but is it really? Or are we just not looking for the right clues? In today's video, I'm going to give you a clinical tool to change that. We're going to build a trigger map, a framework to systemically identify what's really activating your client's rosacea so that you can finally move from reactive to strategic. When we talk about rosacea triggers, most people think of the obvious ones: spicy food, red wines, and a hot day perhaps. And yes, those are all very valid, but they are just one piece of a much larger puzzle. To be effective, we need to categorize these triggers because each trigger requires a different management strategy. I wanted to think of it like a map with 5 key territories. When a client comes in with a flare, our job is to figure out which territory that we're in. So here it is on the map, and the 5 key territories of rosacea activation are thermal triggers. This is about heat and UV, chemical triggers, and this is about what we put on the skin. Mechanical triggers is about physical friction and pressure, and internal triggers covers things like diet, stress, and hormones. And then we also have microbial triggers, and this one is about the skin's microbiome, specifically our friend the Demodex mites. Now, let's break each one down to make this more clear. First, we'll look at the thermal triggers. This is the most well-known category, and it includes things like sun exposure, hot showers, saunas, and even a hot oven. The heat causes vasodilation, the blood vessels expand, leading to flushing and redness, and the forward-thinking reminder here is critical. Now is the time in April to get rosacea under control before the summer heat makes it much harder to manage in the peak summer months. Next is the chemical triggers. This is where so many clients unknowingly sabotage their own skin, and it includes ingredients like some alcohols, fragrance, and certain preservatives and emulsifiers that are found in skincare and makeup. But it also includes things that we might think are good, like high concentrations of certain acids or retinoids that are simply too aggressive for a compromised barrier but otherwise would be fine. The rule here is simple. If it stings, burns, or makes the skin tight, it's a chemical trigger. I had a client who swore her rosacea was just random, but when we mapped out her triggers, we found that she was using heavy, fragranced hairspray every single morning. The aerolized chemicals were landing on her face and causing a reaction hours later. She thought that it was her lunch that was the trigger, but it was her hairspray in the end. That was a chemical trigger for her skin, and highlighting the importance of investigating beyond the skincare itself is important because sometimes it's in the hair product or the makeup that the culprit is found. The third is mechanical triggers, and this is about physical friction, as I mentioned. Think about harsh washcloths, face scrubs, or even the way someone sleeps pressing their face into a pillow all night long. For men, it can be the friction from shaving. I've also seen this from CPAP machines, and these are actions physically disrupting the already fragile barrier, causing more inflammation. The fourth one is internal triggers, and this is a huge category. It includes the classic dietary triggers like alcohol, spicy food, and caffeine, but the biggest one here is stress. As we talked about last month, high cortisol levels suppresses lipid production and drive inflammation. A stressful week at work can absolutely cause a rosacea flare. Hormonal fluctuations, especially found in menopause, also fall into this category. So this is why the consultation is so important. You have to ask what was going on in your life when the flare started. You're not just a skin practitioner, you are a detective. Finally, the fifth territory, microbial triggers. This is the fascinating and often overlooked area. We all have microscopic mites living on our skin called the Demodex follicularum. And in a healthy, balanced system, they are no big deal. But in a rosacea skin, two things happen. The first one is often the overgrowth of these mites, and the second one is a compromised barrier that allows the bacteria associated with these mites, like Bacillus oleronius, to trigger a massive inflammatory immune response. And this is particularly linked to the papules and pustules we see in rosacea subtype 2. Now, this doesn't mean that we need to eradicate them. It means that we need to rebalance the skin's ecosystem and rebuild the barrier so that these mites are no longer a trigger in the end. Okay, guys, so for the next time your client comes to you with a rosacea flare, don't just reach for the calming rosacea products. Pull out your map, and I will see you next week.